Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. Begin transmission, Outer Rim transmission number 39. We are coming off of a 1 week hiatus, and for a very good reason on a very special night, not our usual night of recording. I know it's a Wednesday, and that is December 29th, 2021. Big night. This is the Book of Boba Fett. The drought is over. Well, we haven't had a large drought, but it's been a couple months since we got new Star Wars content on the screen. So here we are. We're going to break down that episode. We'll start with our spoiler-free thoughts, and then we'll kind of get into all the nitty and gritty details that you guys would expect of our usual breakdowns here at Outer Rim Transmission. But before we get to all that, we had a week off. There was some big holidays that came around. I just want to see how you guys have been, see what's been going on. Maybe somebody got some Star Wars gifts. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have enough show and tell for probably the several next few months. So to start off for Christmas, my aunt, she actually found me. It's the original A New Hope poster.
Oh, nice.
So it's the original poster from A New Hope, and it's on one of those wooden, like it's basically wood. So it's real nice, and you can hang it on your wall and stuff. And she found that for me for a extra little Christmas gift, because she's like, I know you do that Star Wars YouTube show thing, so you can have that for this. So I said, okay, thanks.
There you go.
So I got that for one of my many Star Wars Christmas gifts, to say the least.
yeah, I think I'm gonna take that road as well and be like, yeah, let's ration off some of these things I got, just so that I have something to bring up most of the time here. Because there was a time or two where I was like, I got literally nothing on me right now, or nothing to even talk about. But well, I don't feel like that's gonna be a thing we're gonna say much longer with a new series and everything like that. But
Yep.
as far as me, for keen-eyed, eagle-eyed viewers of this YouTube channel, you might be able to pick out something in the background that hasn't been there before. So I don't know if you guys can pick it out. Do you see anything that's out of the ordinary there? It might be kind of hard to see because the webcam is a
no.
little. All right, I'll give you a hint. It's over my left shoulder.
There's
It's a new.
It's some type of. It's a dark figure. He's pretty tall. I don't know who that is though.
All right, let me show you guys. Yeah, my girlfriend got me this really cool Qi'ra. Let me bring up OBS so I can see what I'm looking at here. A Qi'ra model kit. I mean, it's not. You just kind of clip the pieces together. It's nothing crazy. Oh yeah, there goes little Baby Yoda,
Yeah.
little Grogu there. Really high definition quality here. I'm really impressed by. Like, if you look really close, you can see like the textile patterns on his like shirt underneath his armor and everything like that. Some different pieces I never even realized existed on the armor, which is it's just a lot of fun, and it's a nice little kind of thing to have on display. I like the size of it. So I really dig this thing. It almost reminds me of like a sideshow collectible. Like, that's how good the quality is on this thing. So I really first Qi'ra product here that I've ever owned. Very impressed. Very impressed.
Oh, that looks nice. I mean, it's a great gift, and that's one of the best things about Star Wars. There's so many different like collector's things you can get.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Well,
there's yeah. Go ahead, Moulton.
No,
Yep.
go ahead. I'm interrupting you. My bad. I didn't really get anything Star Wars this year, honestly. I got like a cool like Marvel book though. I know that's Star Wars, but yeah. But I mean, we did watch Empire Strikes Back on Christmas. I mean,
No, that's cool.
That is a Christmas movie, in my opinion.
Just saying. It's got snow, so
Yep.
yeah,
that's my justification for it. Like the first 45 minutes of the movie is like on Hoth.
Yep. Yeah, you can't argue that then. Can't argue that.
Yeah.
But that's neat watching a Star Wars movie during Christmas. I mean, we were used to that, with the couple films that came out after Disney bought out Lucasfilm. But and I mean, Book of Boba Fett is close enough to the Christmases we're getting this year as far as like a Star Wars release. But to watch something literally on Christmas is a pretty cool tradition that I would really like to start doing.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've always. I mean, we've not always done it, but I try to at least watch a Star Wars movie or two on Christmas. I don't know. Just now that the sequels have been released on Christmas, it's like, you know what? Let's start something new.
Yep. Oh, I totally agree with you. I mean, a lot of my Christmas, both on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day at our families, we were talking about different Star Wars things. Of course, like us three we're like the Star Wars people around the families. So,
Right.
So you always get people talking and stuff. And when we were at my grandma's, we just threw on The Mandalorian and just let it kind of play in the background when we were over there.
Yeah. I put out a tweet out there. I was like, hey, well, it didn't take much work because there's not a whole lot of live action, but I was like, watch these episodes in order to get ready for Book of Boba Fett. And unfortunately, I didn't get through all those episodes. I only got through a single one, but I was like, I'm gonna try. And but here we are. So, man, I'm not gonna put this off any further. I have one more order of business to get through. Actually, a couple of things. First off, if you guys are joining the chat, go ahead and send us all your reactions to the Book of Boba Fett. And if you're listening after the fact, you could always, email us at Outer Rim Transmission for any topics you want to discuss on future episodes. We also have that Teespring store where you can buy merch. And we're available on all podcast streaming services and on YouTube. We go live usually every Friday. I will say usually because this is the one exception where we're actually doing this on a Wednesday, the night that the show comes out, but also because it ended up perfectly because it was going to be on New Year's Eve on this Friday. And I don't know about you guys. I might not be doing anything anyway, but I feel like most of our viewers probably will be. So I was like, let's just keep this thing on the big night of the year when that's Book of Boba Fett's night. So we got this thing together for you guys. And other than that, what came out this week, I'll do a quick mention of the two comics. We got Bounty Hunters issue number 19. Has a really cool thing about Dark Squadron. So Violent Valence is now working for Vader, and Vader is rooting out Crimson Dawn out of the Empire. So he sends Violent Valence on a mission to basically take out this one Imperial officer that's supposedly part of Crimson Dawn. But the cool thing about this thing is Dark Squadron, first off, that name is like a canceled Rogue Squadron spin-off game. I looked this up on Wikipedia where it was like, I want to see what this... It was originally going to be a spin-off game of Rogue Squadron, so that's really neat. What's really cool is that this squadron is comprised of TIE defenders after Thrawn's project was scrapped in Star Wars Rebels, so I found that really cool.
Oh, yeah, that is really cool. And I didn't know that, I'd never heard of that name before. Like, I haven't heard of that, like, being a spinoff of Rogue Squadron before. So that's actually pretty interesting hearing about that. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. So I'm always about the TIE Defenders because, they're a big Legends vehicle or ship. And it's just nice to see them kind of getting more roots in the canon right now. Whether or not we'll see them in the Mandalorian era is a completely other thing. But I'm looking forward to it. We also had Star Wars Adventures issue number 13 from IDW. It has a Rey and Finn story. Then it also has a story about Darth Vader going into a Jedi temple and basically getting out artifacts and things like that. So you can read, or you can watch, I should say, rather, watch the review I have coming out. Should be out on Friday at some point. It's probably already out for people that are listening to podcasts. But without further ado, our entire episode tonight is going to be dedicated to the Book of Boba Fett. So we're going to give our, spoiler-free impressions straight off the bat in case some of you are listening to this or watching this and haven't seen it yet. We'll spend a good 5-10 minutes or so talking about spoilers. We will let you know when we're talking about spoilers. I feel like we didn't do this a lot with The Mandalorian. We kind of just jumped in. So I just want to give people like a little warning, like, hey, you can chill with us for a little bit and then pause and come back later after you watch the episode. So I'm going to go and we already know like an opinion of somebody right now. So we're going to start off with the good. Let's start off with the good. We're going to throw out the bet on this one first.
Yeah, I think so. I watched the episode twice today. As I normally try, I try to watch these live action Star Wars things. I watch them at 3 a.m. when they come out, which I did last night. Me and my best friend came over and we hung out and watched this episode at 3 a.m. and then I'll watch it in the evening before we have our podcast, just because, the hype of watching something new at 3 a.m., it's exciting and everything. So I just wanted to, I always want to make sure, by watching it one more time, especially since it's only like 25, 30 minutes long, 35 minutes long, whatever. Like, I don't mind to rewatch it again, especially for an introduction to a show like this. considering I really liked this introduction overall as a whole. You know, at 3 a.m. when I first watched it, I was kind of like, yeah, it was solid, I would say. But then when I watched it again, I thought it was actually very good overall because I think the way they did the episode, just from the story, how they initiated flashbacks throughout the episode, I thought was pretty creative, and I just liked seeing Boba's journey through the episode because I think, you know, like I tweeted about it at 4 a.m. this morning. Like I think overall the episode was good, and basically it answered some questions that we've had before, and then it also opened the door to other questions. And you know, I just can't wait to see where this is going to end up leading us.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to err along the lines of you, Ben, as far as like this initial reaction, and I'm going to talk about is there's really three key concepts I want to talk about, or key points here, and that's first off, really good fan service. You know, they gave us exactly what the fans have been dreaming about in their minds and their imaginations, especially with the expanding universe folks, about, you know, how, you know, certain flashbacks. Again, we're spoiler free right now. It's just like certain cool things that you guys can probably surmise just from me saying flashbacks. But that was really cool fan service. And then also just the fact that Boba, we see him from a different angle, that like we know Boba is like this really mysterious character and all, but we're seeing him, you know, coming into the shoes of, you know, taking the place of Jabba the Hutt and being more of a benevolent leader, like kind of saying like, oh, I don't care about the traditions that leaders have. This is how I want to do things, and kind of like stirring up the status quo, which I really appreciate. He's just not going to be like another evil dictator for the most part, at least from what we've seen so far. And the third pillar I'll talk about is the world building. The world building was really, really good. Just as we think we know all of Tatooine. We think we all know about Tatooine at this point, and they're still giving us new information about different cultures of things that happen on Tatooine, different ecosystems, and different cities that we haven't seen before in a long time, and about how they look completely different, and just, you know, the repercussions of somebody vacuum, you know, out of power, and then how people like divvy up the funds and stuff like that. Like I thought it was really cool from like a mechanical standpoint of like, hey, what happens when this leader is replaced, and then what tasks do they have to do to kind of fill in that spot. So for me, it was really cool there. And you also see, like, I actually felt like I cared about Boba Fett more than any other story. I feel like I see his journey. I'm already thinking about several steps ahead. Well, I'm going to have a special area at the end of this video to talk about theories, because I have a theory I've been thinking about all day that I can't wait to talk to you guys about, because we have not talked about this at all day. Even in the Messenger app, I purposely was like, we'll just save the conversation for now. So that's gonna be really fun to bring up. But yeah, that those are my initial thoughts. I'll throw it over to Milton.
So overall, I thought this was I'll put you this way. I'm excited for the show. I think I've made it very clear from day one. I think a couple weeks ago I said that I just want the show to get here. I'm tired of all the hype. Just give me the show. There's a lot of good things in this episode that I really enjoyed. You know, obviously we'll get into some of the spoilers as we go later, but like I enjoyed the flashbacks, and I think that's something that we predicted, that we'll see flashbacks in this show. So I like that particular part of the story thus far. I think I'm probably more intrigued about how he obviously how he escapes, but then, you know, how does he join those village, you know, those people. So I'm really looking forward to that. I thought the action was solid. I love the music. I thought this episode gave us a lot of answers, but gave us a lot of questions too. Again, I'm trying to be positive with this quick recap. There were some things that I did not like, and I just thought it was weird to me, and it didn't quite make sense. But I think after looking at it, I see what they're trying to do. I mean, look, the episode's not trash. It's a great, or I wouldn't say it's a great, it's a good first episode. I wish they would have given us 2 episodes, because I feel like this one wasn't strong enough by itself. I think if they would have gave us kind of like Hawkeye, they gave us those first 2 episodes. If they'd have gave us a back-to-back, I think the first episode would have paid off a lot more, in my opinion, for me. Again, I've had some issues with the episodes. With the episode, again, it's not trash, but we'll get into that in a couple minutes.
All right. Yeah, no, I appreciate that fact and that sentiment about, hey, you know, there's a lot of Marvel shows that have been putting out 2 episodes in the front, right? You had WandaVision, you had this. In that initial reaction, we'll talk about our initial viewing. We'll start with that first. So my initial viewing was like, I seen the timestamp and I was like, damn, you know, 7 episodes. I was hoping like, since it's shorter than Mandalorian, maybe we would have like 45-minute plus episodes long. So that didn't happen. So when the episode is so short, my experience of watching the episode is like, oh, we're probably like 20. I don't ever like stop to look at the time or anything, but I'm like
Right.
certain parts of the episode, I was like, pacing wise, I was like, oh, what are we doing here? Like, there's only going to be like 5 minutes left at this point, probably. Like, why are we still here? Like, what's going on? The importance. And it all came true at the end. Like, it all came around full circle. It was like, I see why they did that and all that sort of thing. But as far as my initial viewing experience, I watched this in the morning at around 8 a.m. My mom was off at work, so we watched that together for the first time, which is pretty cool because like we haven't really watched anything new Star Wars like the first day together or anything like that because I'm always seeing this thing as fast as I can or whatever. If it's a movie, she'll see it a couple weeks later. If it's an episode, we'll watch it like a couple days later, kind of thing. So it was kind of cool how I was going in blind with her, and I was like, just letting you know, my lunatic self might go crazy at certain parts of the show. So just be prepared if I like jump out of my seat or something like that and you don't know what the hell is going on. It's because there's probably some big reveal or something like that. So that was an interesting experience, but that was pretty fun. But I'm going to throw over to Ben because I know you have an interesting experience as well with watching this.
Yeah. So my good friend, he always is listening into this show. You know, he came over yesterday. And he was like, hey, you know, do you care if I come over and watch the season premiere with you? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So we, he came over, we hung out, played some Xbox, and then, then Mando came on, Book of Boba came on, and we watched that, and that was the first thing. As soon as we started the episode, he looked at me and was like, man, it's only 37 minutes or whatever it was. And I was like, yeah. I was like, this is going to be interesting. And see, my thing too, Chris, is kind of similar to you, where I almost feel like when you see the timestamp and, you know, you're getting into the episode, it's almost like in a sporting event, like when like in a football game, when teams start to play tight, basically, and start to play on edge. Like, I feel on edge because I'm like, okay, this is short, so we can't be wasting time here. Like, we cannot waste time. We have to make important progress through this episode. So, like, I always get a little anxiety when it comes to the time length of an episode because, you know, like you said, we only have 7 episodes. So it's like, if we're going to get 7 35-minute episodes, we have to know exactly where we're heading. There can't be any type of wasted moments, I guess you would say. So that does get me a little nervous when I see the timestamps, but overall, like, the reaction, you know, the initial viewing of it, we really enjoyed it. And just the whole, I guess it wasn't what we were expecting, I guess I would say, if we had to put it that way, like, you know, because I think going into it, and I think a lot of fans felt this way too, not just me and my buddy, that I was thinking anyways, there was going to be a lot more action, or at least Boba in Boba's armor action. And we didn't really get that as much as I thought we would. Or like we didn't get the big home run, because the Disney Plus Star Wars shows have already set the precedent for season 1 of Mando, boom, Baby Yoda breaks the internet. Season 2 of Mando, boom, Boba Fett breaks the internet. So I was thinking, what's going to be the big thing at the end of this episode? And we get to the end of this episode and it's like, oh, okay. I mean, that was really good, but surprising. It wasn't where I expected it was going to go, I guess I would say. But, you know, that's not a bad thing. I like the overall pacing of it. I feel like we are 100%. I can't take full credit to it because I just saw a random tweet. Someone said that first episode really felt like a blend of The Godfather and an old Western type show, is exactly how that felt.
I do want to take a moment to shout out the chat room here. We have Chad Ghost, my good buddy. He's a huge Boba Fett fan, and he said a few things. There's one thing he said that I'm gonna circle back to later because it's actually part of the theory that I was actually referencing a few minutes ago. So I'm gonna save that one for later on in the show. But yeah, he's very excited about this. He's saying, perfect representation of Boba Fett. I know he means, business with that because basically he has a sideshow collectible Boba Fett that he highly prizes. This guy is as big of a Boba Fett as you could meet. So for him to say that, it's like, that's high praise, that's high praise.
That's good.
So we got chat. We also have Alex Elkins in there. He's saying Boba knows wrist rackets. And then we also have
Yep.
Milton's brother Chris in there. The main fight scene I thought was kind of odd, but the Tuscan Raiders and flashbacks were pretty solid. So there is so much to break down here. It's a 30 something minute episode, and we're gonna be talking about it for well over an hour easily, even though it's only a 30 something minute episode. So I think the best way for me to like tackle this episode is to just go through chronological order and talk about the themes as they come up and kind of break it down at that kind of level so we don't miss anything, you know what I mean? So let's just start with the first thing here. Our reaction to just the very first title sequence where it's like, it's chapter 1. It's the same kind of layout as The Mandalorian. I thought maybe this would be like chapter 17 or something, tacked off of The Mandalorian as if it's, season 2.5. But they're saying it's its own thing, obviously, and it's a stranger in a strange land. So they're still using like the same formula for the Book of Boba Fett with Mandalore. I thought that was interesting there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick. I think a real big takeaway from that is just the title, "A Stranger in a Strange Land," is setting the tone for the flashbacks. He's a stranger in the Tuscan world, but also a strange land has to do with the criminal world because he's not used to being the boss. Basically, he's used to being the hired gun. So he's a mercenary. That's basically what I was going to say. And continue, Milton.
No, I was about to say I love the intro, and we get to see him in the back of the tank, and he's having the visions because he referenced to that later. I love the two shots with Camino, and we get to see who's the kid that plays him in
Daniel
the movie.
Logan.
Daniel Logan, yeah. We get to see that shot. We get an extended shot of that because that's not a shot we got in the movie.
No, I was thinking that's something different.
Yeah, that's definitely a different shot. Maybe it's an unused shot. I don't know, but it looked like him as a kid. So I was very impressed. I felt those particular scenes paid a lot of respects to the prequels. Honestly, out of all the sequel films we've got, of all the sequel movies, this show, just for those two scenes, paid respect to what came before it, and it tied in well.
I sat up in my chair like, oh my gosh, this is the first blatant reference to the prequels that we've gotten.
Loved it.
I mean, The Mandalorian did have a pretty good prequel reference with the super battle droids and all that, but it's like,
true.
This is like an actual scene. Like, this is an actual scene from a movie.
Robert Rodriguez, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni aren't afraid to acknowledge, hey, those prequels movies are just as important as the original trilogy. Because everyone seems to think that the original trilogy is gospel. And don't get me wrong, those movies are great. We love them. We all do. However, there's a lot of people that are original trilogy fans that love the prequels too and love the Clone Wars and think that those are just as much as Star Wars. Hell, it enhances the original trilogy in my opinion.
Yes.
With us getting a little knowledge saying, hey, you know what though? Boba Fett's important, but this is his origin story. Like regarding where he's coming from and why he's having these visions and dreams. I feel like we're gonna get a lot more of that. We're gonna get a lot more Camino now as I think about it. Mm-hmm. Why would they show Camino? Why?
Yeah, okay, so before we get any further, I'm a bad host right now, apparently, because I said I would give people a spoiler alert.
Sorry,
is
my
the
bad.
spoiler alert.
I'm just...
No, it's all good. I should have said that before we got any further. So this is our spoiler alert. If you guys haven't seen the episode, come back later. Okay, now we can continue.
I'm sorry, man. I just got excited, because, again, it's just...
That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal.
Looked great. It looked great, too.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we're back in episode 2 again. Yep. Just seeing those two particular shots. It's like, okay... That's nostalgia. That's good fan service because that ties into the story, and I bet you it will pay off later.
Oh, it's definitely going to come back later. I feel like they don't specifically say that. I just love the tying in of the entire character's lineage That to me
Yeah.
is cool.
Yep.
Like, this is the book of Boba Fett. We're gonna get the entire life story of this guy. Maybe we'll see some like, pseudo live action Clone Wars stuff eventually. I don't know how
Right.
long these little things are gonna go in these flashbacks, but it's interesting. So let's get into the next one here. This is the one that, fans for 40 years have been waiting for. It's him getting out of the Sarlacc pit. It's pretty brutal. It's pretty awesome, though. I gotta admit,
Yeah.
just like being inside the belly of a Sarlacc, I always wanted to see how that would look. And just, seeing a stormtrooper in there was like, whoa, what the hell's going
Yeah.
on in there? And then he's using a flamethrower. What was your guys' reaction to that whole sequence?
I honestly didn't expect that. Like, I didn't expect to see a stormtrooper, I'll be honest with you. But then it's like, well, we knew stormtroopers did occupy Tatooine sometimes, so maybe a little convoy of stormtroopers got lost in the desert and got trapped. Like, that's what I'm thinking. But again, that scene reminded me of the Patton Oswalt Boba Fett rant he went on. Was it Parks and Rec? So, like, that was kind of dope. And then it reminded me of the fan film that someone made a couple years ago. I was like, okay, like, so far you got my money. Like, I was invested and hooked.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. It was also cool seeing Boba, help like take the oxygen from like the stormtroopers because, he knew he was going to suffocate down there. So also it makes me think, so are we just assuming this was like briefly right after the events of Return of the Jedi? Or right after, like, because he probably wasn't in there very long, I would say.
No.
No, it's got to be the same day. It has to be the same day. In my opinion, like, yeah.
And this is the thing where I want to give out accolades to the Star Wars storytelling team, the story group per se. They actually went by the book with the aftermath. You've read Aftermath, Milton. The interlude. Yep. The Aftermath interlude was exactly like it played out, right? Because apparently the Katana, which is the sail barge for Jabba, its wreckage killed the Sarlacc pit like immediately when that thing exploded. Like all the wreckage, it was right on top of it. So like all the wreckage, the explosion just like killed the thing. So that's what I'm thinking. Like Boba Fett gets out of there. And then we know from Aftermath, we know from Mandalorian Season 2 that Cobb Vanth got the armor from the Jawas in the Sandcrawler. So I love how they really like tied together the canon and made it work, even with a previous story. They could have just threw out the book and Chuck Wendig, it's just a book. We don't have to care about that. They actually were like, hey, let's look at the source material. Let's actually try to make a good story that works around that. And they've done a really great job with that. So I got to give them props for that, first of all.
Again, that's smart. That's smart. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think one of the coolest parts about the entire sequence is the fact that he doesn't come out of like its mouth. He comes out of like underground, like, in the sand and stuff, pulling himself out. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. Just the way they shot it, like, it was, it's great. And it's also nice. I do like the fact that they didn't like hardcore stick to like the old Legends. This is where, I can give them props for not sticking directly to Legends, because in old Legends, Dengar saved him. But I like the fact that Boba was able to get out himself, because, it just basically solidifies Boba as like the man he is. Like, this guy, this guy's badass. Like he can take care of himself.
And it shows you, I love how they showed you how exhausting it was for him. Like, he literally collapsed when he got out of that thing. Like, it took every ounce of energy from him to get out. And he had, like, the Jawas just stealing the armor off him. Like, he was basically dead after getting out of there.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. He's not just digging through sand. He's digging through Sarlacc. Like I'm sure that the tissue and flesh of that thing is thick, and he probably has to burn his way out and cut his way through. So, yeah, you're physically exhausted, because by the time he got out, it was evening, midday, and then at night they came and got the armor. So I mean, like, you definitely tell he was physically and mentally just not there. So I think that was great storytelling, which then makes me hate the Jawas even more, because I just hate those creatures. Like, I mean, it's just throughout the whole Star Wars universe, I just never liked Jawas. They're just annoying and just always in the way and always causing drama. It's like, okay, they're very consistent with these particular creatures. Like, no one likes them.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know anyone in my life that likes a Jawa.
They're for sure the most consistent Star Wars character.
You're damn right.
But now we got to talk about the Tuscan Raiders, right? So we see Mandalorian, we see the Boba Fett and Mandalorian having a cycler rifle, having the gaffy stick, having that cloak. It's like, hey, has this guy been living among the sand people? Apparently he has, and I love the fact that he's getting paraded around in cuffs behind the bantha. Like that was brutal for me to like experience. Like that's where I started to feel more sympathy for Boba Fett than I've ever seen before because I'm sitting there thinking, watching this, like this is exactly what Smee Skywalker went through. They're
Right.
taking these human,
Yep.
they're any of these captives to like basically work for them to get water and all this kind of stuff, or just beat their training like dummies against whatever. So I thought that was really well done. It like they really took a lot of time to just focus on it. Be like, Boba Fett not only survived a Sarlacc pit, he survived like walking through the middle of this desert with like no food, just in the middle of the beating sun. Like, holy crap! I thought that was really good.
So what I
Oh,
took away from this part was that obviously I love the flashback storytelling. Me and my brother and I were talking about this earlier. I think the Tuscan Raiders were somewhat testing him throughout their time having him. Because think about it, when he first escapes and he wrecks their dog. What's that creature called? The dog they have.
Mastiff, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Mastiff.
whenever he knocks him out, escapes. They could have killed him, but they
Mhm.
kind of circle him up and say, okay, if you kick our asses, we'll let you go or you join our group. So they were trying to test him. Then speaking on the son, I have to reference Jar Jar here. The son does murder on the skin
Ha!
because his skin looked like trash,
Yeah.
and it's no wonder people age rapidly.
Uh,
Then I tie back to Beru and Owen of how they just look so old.
yeah.
It's again, the Tatooine sun has to burn hotter than normal, and it's his skin looks so bad, and I love that because it's yeah, you're in the desert, no water, no back to tank, no food, no covering, and you have to deal with these aliens and Tuscan Raiders, or yeah. So it's
Oh
I thought that was
gosh.
awesome, and I love seeing that interaction and how he gained their respect and trust.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I thought the interaction was really good. I liked how even with all the struggles he was dealing with, when he got into the camp, he still was, still witting enough to basically use that Mastiff to kind of bust himself out of there. So that's cool that it shows even in that time, he still is Boba Fett.
Right.
And I think one of the coolest takeaways from his whole interactions with the Tuscans is, if you think about it up to this point, let's say this is all the same day of him falling into the Sarlacc. This is a really big moment, I would say, in Boba's life, because he's in his mid to upper 40s now, and he basically got humbled. He basically went from being an untouchable, most notorious bounty hunter in the galaxy to now he's getting beat up by these native aliens, basically. So it's a big humbling moment for Boba Fett, and we see that throughout the episode. I mean, we'll get to that later on toward the end of the actual episode, but I feel like he got humbled, and it's just going to make his character grow a lot stronger, I guess I would say.
Yeah. So wrapping the flashbacks up, or at least for this segment, were you guys surprised that they started off with the flashbacks so fast in the show? Were you expecting to do it halfway through the season, or because I was like,
Right.
wow, they are going right for the great fan moment with him getting out. So they wasted no time at all with that.
No time. And again,
I expected it. Fully expected it.
Same here. And Ben, you already know I'm going with this. My Arrow was where
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I was because I was telling my brother this today because my brother's never seen Arrow. I said that first episode in Arrow starts off with a flashback. Now we don't know that, but it's wait a minute, as the show, especially season 1, as it progresses, you're oh, this makes sense. That blah 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 blah. So to me, I love that particular part of storytelling, and it makes sense. That's why I'm so intrigued about the flashbacks moving forward. Again, I have some issues with the present story.
Okay.
But the flashbacks is oh, we know where he's going to end up. How he's going to get there. I'm so intrigued with that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the way that the flashbacks are transitioned, the way they're used, the way we can see them visually versus the present. I like what they're doing with this. It's just not flashbacks for the sake of it. He's going into the Bacta, And that's when it causes, he says, these dreams are coming back. So these dreams are coming back or whatever for whatever reason. But I like how we have that easily distinguishable area from present to previous, right? Previous, it's like he doesn't have the armor, he's in that white whatever color jumpsuit. Then he has the armor, we know he's in present day. So it's a very easy kind of like mechanism for storytelling to be like, this is how we know, because there's a lot of flashbacks in the show, where we are in the timeline. So I thought that was really good, and a reason to go into flashbacks. There's a story point reason why he's having these flashbacks. We don't know yet why he's having these dreams, but I like how it's presented there. I think it did a great job with explaining that.
I totally agree. And again, I love the reference that he says that the dreams are coming back or they're still here. Again, you don't say that for no reason. There has to be, maybe that's something up with the cloning when I don't know. Maybe something happened to him in Camino. So I have no idea. And maybe he's always been that way as a kid, as an adult, maybe PTSD because of his father. Again, they showed him with the helmet, like look at it, like that's important. Before I get to my point about that, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but Tamara Morrison looked pretty buff when he sat up out of the tank. I'm like, oh, he got in shape. Just because everyone made fun of him in Mandalorian season 2 about being quote unquote fat Boba Fett. Oh no, he looked pretty stacked. He put his shirt off at one point. I was like, all right, my man got in shape. But like, I mean, like I love that first particular part of him coming out and Fennec's like, hey, time to wake up, boss. And just seeing what their relationship is like thus far. So they actually have a good chemistry and there's trust there. Because, again, he's vulnerable. She can do something to that tank, but you can definitely tell she respects him. She wants to be on his side. So I love seeing that. You get to see how they interact, and that's just good storytelling.
Yeah. Real quick, Chad Ghost brings up a really great point. What was the gritty green night vision flicker about, guys?
Wait, who's that?
Chad is saying in the chat, there's like a gritty green filter, like a night vision filter, like that goes on. I noticed it too. If you notice closely, it's like a night vision type of thing that goes up and it comes away, it goes back real fast, and then it's just like him and his helmet kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's just him and his helmet. I guess I would say, just I would say it's more transitions, like showing him putting his armor on, like. Seeing from his perspective inside the armor, I would guess.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe it relates to my theory that I'm going to keep referencing until we finally get to it.
Okay.
So getting into the present day. So I liked how this was all set up. We get to see like the inside of Jabba's palace, all these different rooms. It's really neat seeing that. And his first day, like, dealing with the people, so to speak. Like, hey, we got this Aqualish guy that's coming in. And that's where there was like the first little bit of levity in the first dialogue. We go like 10 or 13 minutes in this episode without any dialogue whatsoever. And I feel like, yeah, they have a great camaraderie, him and Fennec. They both get along very well and both, we know each other's bounds and whatnot like that. But I thought it was pretty funny. Like that first like little bit of levity was him dealing with the Aqualish, and the guy's talking for like 2 minutes and he's like, did anybody get any of that?
Right.
It's just like, I think he means friendly or friend or something like that.
Right. Yeah, so this is where I'm going to be probably a little negative about this part of the episode. This is where I get negative about the time of this particular episode, because it's moments like that, like when who's that other guy that came that was representing the mayor?
Oh, the Major Domo guy, yeah.
Yeah, so that whole entire scene to me, this is why I wish the episode was longer, because we wasted time on that particular person, even though we know it's going to come back.
I don't think it's going to be
down the road. I just felt like it was just in the way for no reason. It's like that could have been a shorter scene. No. We could have gone to something else.
No. The reason why they hovered on that scene, you're talking about the Twi'lek, right?
Yes. Well,
the reason why they hovered on the Twi'lek is because they're showing there's tension already. That mayor, right. There's a conflict right there.
I totally understand that, and I get that. I mean, the mayor disrespected him by not showing up. Like, he talked about respect as his thing. He clearly disrespected him. However, I think that servant guy or whatever was just being a little too jokey for me.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Well,
I was just wasting space.
Yeah, just to hop in real quick, I think, Chris, what basically Milton's saying is like, it was even more of just too extended of a scene. Like you could have sped up the conversation a little more, and I 100% felt a little that way as well during that scene as well, Milton, because like you said, it's going to wrap back around. We do know there's tension, but it did feel a little bit lengthy. It felt a little too wordy for my exact liking, I would say.
I agree, and that's where I'm at. So if it was cut a little bit down, because again, it's only 37 minutes of an episode, and I know we get caught up on that, but it's like you can't waste time with a short episode, especially when there's only 7 episodes. It's not like it's 15 episodes.
Yeah,
I mean, everything has to mean something.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like he's just so important to the plot that it had to happen because he's making that reference like, oh no, like I don't owe you a tribute. You owe me a tribute. It's like, wait a minute, like what? Like so that's seriously? Like that's where it was like, like crap is getting real. Like this tension is she's like, do you want me to kill him? And then that's when it's like part of his self comes out where it's more benevolent. Right. He's like, no, he works for him. I'm not going to kill this guy. He's just the messenger, so to speak. So that's where I was like, if that was Jabba would have killed him right there and then. They would have fed him to the menagerie. That's what she said. So I think there was like a little bit of character development right there, or at least like digging into the character of Boba Fett. Like he's not going to do things that were expected of a crime boss on Tatooine.
Right. And like I said, maybe if they would have just retweaked the dialogue and just changed the scene around a little bit, I would have been probably more satisfied. I just felt it dragged on. I'm like, all right, come on. Like, we know he's kind of a jerk. We know, you disrespected him. We know that's going to pay off someday. Now, because he even says, he's like, watch out for him. And I was like,
he's
okay,
like,
we
watch
know he's
out.
He's like,
I'm going to be sending a delegation, or he's going to send another delegation or something like that.
Right.
So getting into, this is a question I have for you guys, and anybody in the chat as well. The Trandoshan brings in a Wookiee pelt. He's like, he says something about may you stay long in Maz Espa, or never leave Maz Espa. I didn't realize that Jabba's palace is actually that close to Maz Espa, apparently, because it seems like Jabba's palace is like nearby Maz Espa. I don't know if anybody knows like a geographic. I know Chad would probably have an answer to that one, but I'm not certain.
It must be like maybe the shots of Jabba's palace we see, maybe just right on the other side of those mountains is just the entire city or something. Like I'm not sure. I thought that was interesting too, but then again, I don't know. Again, we don't really have like an exact geographical map of Tatooine, so I'm not sure per se of where Jabba's palace is in relation, but it must be close. Or then again, it could just be like a district, like maybe Jabba's palace is on like the outskirts of Mos Espa.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it'll be something like that. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. It was cool seeing a Trandoshan bringing in a Wookiee pelt. Like I thought that was a good touch, especially with like the Trandoshans and Wookiees relationships. I thought that was cool. Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting thing, and then also made me think, man, I can't wait to see Bossk.
Yeah, because I thought they did really good with the Trandoshan speaking and like the way he looked. I was like, oh, they can pull off Bossk pretty good now because this guy we never really.
Sure.
Yeah. But as far as like Maz Espa and seeing that location, I was taken aback because we seen that in the trailer, but I was like, that's not Maz Espa or Maz Eisley. That's like Bestine or whatever the other place was. So I was like, wow, it's been like maybe what was it, 50 years since we seen it in Phantom Menace. So they really expanded, apparently, that big tower and everything.
So that's one of my positives. So like I even wrote it down on my notes. I even said I love the set pieces. Like I thought the town looked great. I thought I guess that's a brothel they went into.
Yeah,
I'm assuming. Yeah, it was like just the aliens and even the Twi'leks look great. I ain't gonna lie, like the head Twi'lek, fire. I think that's Jennifer Beal. Actually, I think that actress.
Yeah,
fire, dude. I'm like, you know what? If I was in Star Wars, I might have to hit up a Twi'lek chick to holler at because she looked good. Like I'm just saying, like they made him look amazing. I love all the aliens. Again, we got a lot of aliens in this episode.
Oh yeah,
a lot.
I like the difference when they're walking through the streets of Maz Espa. You could actually see the Maz Espa compared to Maz Eisley, because I just watched that episode of Mandalorian where he shows up in episode 5 of season 1. There's like nobody there, and you see this, and Maz Espa's like thriving. There's people all over the place, and there's our first big of course Jon Favreau put Max Rebo in there. I just want to know how he survived the sail barge now.
Well, a big part about it too, him, walking through the streets of Mos Espa and everything. I think, well, of course it's interesting because Boba literally says like I'm pretty much not like the prior rulership before me. Like I can walk on my own 2 feet.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I don't
like
need a
it's
litter.
cool. It's cool that he doesn't mind that, or it's showing that side of him. Like he's has an honorable side, and just a side he probably isn't a fan of the flashy perks of like being
Yeah.
a high up person. So like I thought that was cool seeing that side of him, but also like them walking through the streets of Mos Espa. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it felt like the first Indiana Jones movie when Indy goes over to see Sala and they're walking through the streets and
Yep.
like Indy's like, when he's getting interrogated and he's like, oh, if you can try to find Marcus all you want, and Marcus is like walking through the packed streets over in like India or whatever. Like that reminded me of that, like a real like just vibrant area. I liked the score, the music was nice, like setting the
Yeah.
tone, like of the
Love the
culture
music.
of everybody. Like I thought that was really cool, and I really liked seeing Boba out and about like that, like because normally with Star Wars we get so much like grand scale like shots and everything. These cityscape shots of them just walking through the streets are interesting to say the least, because like if you look at the original trilogy, the outside shots we saw with Mos Eisley, they were quick outside shots and then we
Hmm.
cut inside the cantina. So like it was cool just seeing like the actual streets of like Mos Espa and them walking around them.
Right.
Yeah, so getting inside that place, that was pretty cool, right? They're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna polish your helmets and all this kind of thing." He's like, "I'm not gonna sit. I'm not gonna have any alcohol. We're here on business." And I like how the conversation was like really short, but it's just like one example. And they even mentioned it. It's like, "Oh, this is just one of the many vassals of Jabba. Like this is gonna be like Boba Fett. Like he has a really good head on his shoulders. He's like, I don't want to have any kind of different kind of transition of power. I just want to talk to all these people, get things straight, and just move on as if there's been the same leader kind of thing. I like how we get to see that transaction because I never thought about that. I never really thought about like Jabba having to like get money from these different kind of organizations and stuff like that. I thought that was a really
Oh,
fascinating thing for Star Wars.
yeah. Well, it's the same old thing they use in like a lot of gangster movies, like Godfather or Sopranos. It's all pretty much. He's like, okay, you pay us so we can pretty much protect you. It's protection money. It's bribe money. So to me, that was so like, okay, that's something that we've seen in modern movie making, or hell, made in the last 30 years when it comes to gangster flicks. So I love that component of it, and that's another positive that I liked about this episode was that I love the gangster attitude that we're gonna get in this show. Because again, we haven't seen that. We've seen tidbits of it with Jabba, but never like the underground. So like obviously we were gonna get 1313 with that game, but that never happened. I think this is where we're going to get some of those elements of okay, the underworld on Tatooine, maybe something in Coruscant. I just don't know, but it's nice seeing that element.
Oh, for sure. I think one of the biggest parts of this whole gangster element and like interacting with this group, like basically saying, "Hey, I'm your new ruler now. Keep it moving, whatever." Is I think we're going to be on Tatooine for a very majority of this show, because I think this show is going to progress in a way where how we've talked about before, like for the prior Mando seasons, like progressing the villains, like like a video game.
Right.
I think we're going to progress via towns or via settlements. Like maybe the next one, of course, we will probably deal with the mayor, I'm sure, next, and then maybe it'll transition to like a town where the Crimson Dawn's controlling it. We're gonna level up like who we're meeting up with. Like
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be going in that direction, and I think we're gonna be on Tatooine a lot for this, because I think Boba's gonna go around and basically do the tour.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's kind of like in The Godfather, the first one, they got the five families of New York or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe there's seven families of Tatooine or whatever. I mean, you just never know, but it'd be cool to see how they flesh that out.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So I'm trying to look up the actual Book of Boba Fett. They have a description of this series. I mean, on Disney Plus,
Mm.
and I don't know why I can't find it now. But it was
Also,
basically.
do they mention anything about territories or regions at all? Do they say like who occupies what?
Oh, I found it now. It's just saying no longer just a hired gun. Boba Fett reinvents himself on Tatooine alongside Fennec Shand. So it literally just says Tatooine. I mean, they
Yeah.
could go other places, but like I got the feeling, especially after this one, there's a lot of work to be done on Tatooine. Especially, I know there's a shot with Slave One flying off somewhere, so I don't think we're gonna have just Tatooine, but it's gonna be definitely the majority of it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about the big fight sequence in this episode. They're walking through the streets, and next thing you know, there's the guy that just jumps off the building. It's like really cool somersault lands. The next thing you know, they're cornered, and I mean, I've been calling this for freaking months now. I still think these guys are Crimson Dawn. I think they're working for the mayor. I think he's in cahoots with Qi'ra, who's providing that guy with soldiers or something like that, and there's some deal that's being made. But anyway, what did you guys think about the actual battle
Right.
itself, or a little thing in the streets there?
I thought this was the worst part of the episode. Not gonna front, dude.
What?
It's okay. So once I explain it, Chris, then you'll know. So as they're walking out of the brothel, we get to see our two main characters, and we get to see two Gamorrean guards. But then out of nowhere, those guards vanish, and it's like, okay, where are they at? Because like they're walking. I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense to me. Then they get jumped, and then the guards still aren't there, and then they pop out of nowhere to like save them, which is like, wait, something that don't make sense, whether it's editing or maybe they were just hiding. I have no idea. But then as Boba and Fennec are defending themselves, the choreography was kind of weak to me, in my opinion. It was weird how they were fighting. I was like, this fight looks kind of goofy. Again, I'm thinking back to Mando season 2, how badass Boba was wrecking people with that Joffy stick. And it's like, you can't handle a couple of these guys. I know they got the electro blades or whatever, but it's like, it was just weird how they shot that fight. And I was like, oh, it doesn't look good.
See,
It's like they made Boba look like he was weak, and then like he just, I don't know, it was weird to me. And I know people can get hurt in Star Wars. I know anyone's not vulnerable or invincible.
no.
It just was shot bad. Maybe it was just weird to me.
I have an explanation for this later on in the show. Go ahead, Ben.
I think I'll be in the kind of the middle between you, Milton, and Chris on this. I think some of the shots, some of the action sequences in general in this episode looked a little strange, in my opinion, just in general.
Right.
And this was one of them, because I was talking to my friend about it when we were watching it, or after the episode was over. Like, it's hard to judge because it's the first season of a show,
Right.
but how low of a budget was this? Because the shots were so tight. They were so tight up right up on the characters. And like, to me, that's what kind of bothered me the most about this entire thing was the shots are so tight up on the characters, and it makes it feel like we have a super low budget to some degree. And then the fight choreography, it just was it was okay, I guess. Like I also felt the same way too, Milton, because it felt like Boba was so stiff. Because remember, we're not in when he just left the Tuscan Raider village where he was weak.
Right.
This is after he just whacked all those stormtroopers in just presumably a week or two ago in Mando. Like, so that was kind of a thing that I thought as well. Like, we have Boba, like, also, that's another thing to even point out. Boba, when he got his armor in Mando, he hadn't presumably worn his armor for potentially 4 or 5 years, and he throws it on and just starts smoking people.
Yeah.
So, like, why potentially now, maybe after a few weeks or a few months, could he not do that to these people that he was fighting? And I do think part of this, though, leads into potentially Chris's theory, and I have a theory related to all of this as well, with the back to tank, with Boba, etc. But we'll get into that later. But yeah, I thought I was kind of in the middle on the fight in the street. It was just kind of like it was a little strange.
Yeah. And Chris, I'll let you get your point in a second. And it's just because my brother and I kind of talked about this earlier, and I said maybe they're setting this up for something that happened to Boba off camera that we'll see later. Like maybe because he said like, "Get me back to the bacta tank," and maybe something happened to him where like he is hurt or something like that. So that's where in the back of my head is like, okay, Milton, you have to trust Robert and John and Dave that everything that they're showing us will pay off for a reason, which is why they showed how he fought in that first episode. So I'm like, okay, I'm giving these guys, because they've earned it. I'm giving them that benefit of the doubt. So maybe that's why my thoughts were a little different about it.
Yeah. So on surface level, I think the fight was pretty cool. I honestly liked it because we have these new adversaries that we don't know about yet. And, the stormtroopers that he was dealing with on, not Jeddah, the one planet that the Jedi originated from, Tython. Those were, like, we know the stormtroopers in this age are not great. They're not the best right now. They've never been the best, actually. They've been always whatever. But these Crimson Dawn guys, I mean, they got these badass shields. They have these electrical weapons. I think these guys are probably better than your average stormtrooper, first of all. And I like the tactic that they used where they got these shields and they just like kind of like the phalanx formation, just like enclosed them. And I have to go back and rewatch what was going on with the guards, because were the guards with them as they exited the building after they talked with the lady? Because I don't think they were.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the guards, like they just vanished. It was weird. I'm like, what were they doing?
Well, the people said.
Oh, go on, Chris.
Well, she made a reference to them earlier in the episode where it was like, oh, do you want me to like hose off and feed your Gamorreans? And he's like, no, thanks. So they probably just went off and did something else. And then, but that was
no, go ahead.
This is like one of my favorite parts of the episode.
See, my only issue is that to me will be uncharacteristic for Boba to allow that. Like if he said, hey, he told him like, will you be loyal to me? And they were like, yeah. And it's like, all right, you would think if I'm hired for a new job to watch somebody's back, I'm on their back the whole time. Especially like to me, it's like, what logic are we having here? But again,
you know what it was? I think the Vanishing Guards, unless we get a reasoning, who knows? Maybe in the next episode, Boba will just feed him to the Rancor if he has a Rancor, or something, just to prove a point. But to me, I honestly think it had to do with editing. I really do. Okay. Just because, again, we always reference Arrow on this show, but remember in like season 7 when Oliver's in the prison, and when he gets out of the prison, there's a famous scene in it up close.
When he gets out and
Diggle is literally right up on Oliver, hugged him, and then when they do the wide shot, Diggle is nowhere in the entire landscape. So I think that's what it made me think of. I was like, they just pulled a Diggle on us, like poof.
No,
because when they put the show on Netflix, they added him back, which is so funny.
What? No. What they did, you gotta be Eagle Eye Watcher. They came back with helmets. They got some money to go buy some armor in the meantime, because they have these cool ass helmets, and that was one of my favorite parts of the episode, because it's like, oh, Boba's not getting out of this one, and then you have these two Gamorrean berserkers just charging with these helmets, and just it made me laugh, because like one of them straight up like cuts one of the dude's throats, and they actually are formidable fighters. I feel like when they broke in, that's when it was really fun, because then you had Boba Fett like throwing a guy, or somebody throwing one onto one of the ray shields, and him like getting zapped and vaporized to death. And then what I really loved, I don't think there was any denying that this choreography was awesome, when Fennec Shan was going through the rooftops. I feel like that was tight. That was cinematic, like movie grade quality. So like I was like, this is literally Assassin's Creed in Star Wars, because they're jumping, they're going over these different poles, like flag staffs sticking out of the side of the building, swinging around. That was awesome. And she does like this like crazy like backhand spring like off the building to dodge like their like little shurikens, and then just takes the one guy out. And that I was engaged. I was like, holy crap! Like this is what I was like. Okay, Fennec Shand is literally a master assassin. She's badass as heck right now.
No, you're not wrong. That was a good part. I mean, look, Fennec Shan is a great character thus far. What was it? Ming Nan Wen? Did I say her full name?
Yep, Ming Na Wen.
Yeah, super hot, and she's a hell of an actress, and she does a really good job playing that role. I love that scene. I can't complain at all about what she was doing. And I'm curious how they're going to pick up the next episode because she kicked the one guy off the roof.
Yep.
And she has the other guy held up. So I'm like, okay, something's about to go down episode 2.
Well, looking at the trailers, like as close as I was looking at them, apparently she gets that guy captive and brings him to the mayor, it looks like. So
yeah,
we'll see that in the next episode. Right. But all right, so let's move back into one of the flashbacks. So we get another flashback here, and it's all to do with this little Tuscan kid that's pulling around the Rodian and Boba Fett there. They go to this homestead that's on fire, and there's a swoop gang that paints like some letters on this building. So that's interesting to me because it's like, okay, what exactly is happening? There's a swoop gang. I don't know who they're working for or whatever, whoever symbol that is. Do you guys have any thoughts on like what that was all about? Or
no, I didn't recognize the symbol.
I know the whole sequence. I've seen other people talk about it in other breakdown videos. Apparently in Legends, like some of the way things worked with like Jabba was, he would send like gangs like that around basically as like they would come out and do a water tax on like moisture farmers. That was something that was in
canon.
Legends.
That's actually canon
too. Okay, well that was in Legends as well. So that's actually a Legends thing too. So that's what I was thinking of as well, and I've seen that in other people's videos. So that's what made me think, yeah, that could potentially be it. And I thought it was really cool, even though of course it's not the Lars farm, but it's cool seeing more of like the Tatooine public, like the normal people, I guess you would say, or where they would be living.
Yeah. So then this next scene here is where I started to get like a little bit antsy because then they start digging in the ground. I'm like, all right, where is this going? This is my one negative is like, all right, the pacing did slow down, but then I realized like, oh, they're showing like that there's water like under the sands. Like that was cool. I was like, oh, this is interesting here.
Well, one of my favorite parts from this whole episode came from this because it showed Boba was still Boba though, because when that kid goes to try to hit him, he just goes and grabs the staff. And the kid was probably like, whoa, this guy probably knows what he's doing here. So like, I thought that was a cool little thing, just letting us know like, hey, even though Boba's injured, like he's still's got it. So like, I thought that was one of the best little parts of the episode, just showing, he still has skills.
Oh yeah.
Right. This particular scene, I actually, like when I sat up and I was like, I dropped a couple F-bombs because when I'm calling it this alien what is called now. I'm calling it the Goro dragon, Goro from Mortal Kombat with the 4 arms, and he looked like a dragon. That Goro dragon, fire! I'm not even gonna front. That's one of the best aliens I've seen in Star Wars in like years.
Yeah, it's really inventive.
First of all, the money they had to probably put in to create that dragon, there's no way it's practical. It has to be all CGI. No. I'm sure parts of it's practical and how they got close shots to it, but dude, it looked gorgeous, and I'm like, God Almighty, I'm gonna have to get a figure.
Yeah,
because it looked amazing.
What I like about it is just the mystery, like that buildup. It's like, is this a crate dragon, like a mini crate dragon? What is this thing? Is this a Sarlacc? What the hell is this thing? And it's nothing like. I feel like if I go back to that Super Nintendo Super Star Wars game, it might be one of those bosses in that side-scrolling, like 25-year-old game.
That might be a good point. That might be a good point. I didn't even think about that because because I know in Super Star Wars, like you see like the background scenes when you're working through the game, you see some aliens or whatever. Maybe it's one of them. Maybe we just missed it.
Yeah, because in canon or Legends, I don't even know. I've never seen this thing before that I can recall. But I like its functionality because at first it's like standing up on all like just its hind legs, and then it almost becomes like a minotaur. Because then it's like on the lower half, and then the upper half is still upright. I thought that was really cool because we get so many of these creature designs and stuff, and just all of fiction really, where it's just like a humanoid figure that's bigger. It's just a bipedal, like 2 legs. Arms, whatever. Right. But the fact this thing is almost like a centipede sort of thing, and it's like a monster, it's like, I want to know more about this thing now.
I agree. No, I thought that was awesome. And then I honestly didn't expect them to take the head off. Like, that was amazing. Oh. Like, that was, because they didn't show it. They just cut to the next scene of them walking, and you see the Tuscan Raider just carrying the head. I'm like, oh, wait, Boba ripped that thing off. Like that's amazing. And it's like, all right, this is how he got into the crew. This is how he was able to join their team, and how he subtly passed him that little
Yeah, I
water
like
jug,
that little
which I
detail.
thought was a great. That no words were needed. Just here you go. You're part of the crew now. Thought it was well done.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with both of your guys' points. Like I think the whole sequence was really well done. I like at first, when the ground started shaking, all that stuff. I was thinking either it's going to be a baby crate dragon or maybe a baby rancor even popping up for some reason. I don't know. That's what your mind instantly goes to when you're on Tatooine. So I was thinking along those lines, and I thought the whole sequence was really cool. I like how Boba was able to handle it without his armor or anything. That's great. Again, showing he has skills outside of just his tech. Like I thought that was really good. And then just the whole, like you said, Milton, no words were needed. I love the fact that they, basically it was funny the way they did it too. The Tuscan kid was basically trying to take credit for that thing getting taken out. If you notice the way the kid was like celebrating with the family, it made it seem like the kid was trying to take credit, and then the leader presumably hands Boba some water, and that's basically them saying like, yeah, we know you're the main person that was the reason this dragon got taken out. And
right.
It was cool just seeing Boba like kind of crack a smile, like basically like, hey, I'm involved now. So now I think moving forward with his storyline, though, with the Tuscan storyline, now he's going to be an integral part, I think, in the community, because now he's, I would say, earned their respect. So we're going to see more. We're going to see more of that. Like I think we're going to see more potentially of him dealing with other quote unquote enemies of the Tuscan Raiders, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to know why they even went to that location in the first place. Like the Tuscans were like scouting out this swoop gang, I guess. Like, oh, let's go check these guys out. Because in some more trailers we see Boba Fett like with that jumpsuit, like killing like the those hound face looking aliens. I forget what they're called. The Nictos. Yeah, the Nictos or whatever. So we see some of that later on, which will probably happen next episode. But let's just talk about the Tuscan Raiders in general. I think now's a good time to just talk about the people and how far they've come since Return of the Jedi, or no, A New Hope, I mean. With the Disney Plus streaming shows, with Mandalorian and with Book of Boba Fett, we've seen more of these creatures by tenfold than we have in the entire Star Wars saga.
Yeah, let me honestly, let's go back to even to the prequels. I mean, episode 2. I mean, listen, if they somehow make them likable characters, and these people are responsible for kidnapping Anakin's mom. So like, and we saw Anakin wipe out a whole village of them. So it's like they're going to have to do a really good job to make them likable to us as an audience, to say, you know what? Yeah, maybe that's just a sector of those Raiders who are just crazy, blah, blah, blah. This is what they're actually all about. We're going to see more of the Tuscan Raider culture, what really goes on. So I'm curious to see that. I don't want to like these characters, but again, if you tell the story right, all right, I'm going to forgive most of that stuff in the past.
Yeah, I like that they're going in that direction, like, kind of making them more likable and things. I do hope though that the potential Tuscan Raiders we've dealt with before maybe are like different sects or different groups of them or different tribes, because my only, I guess, worry or nitpick when it comes to the Tuscan Raiders is like, how could it's hard to describe. Like, are we going to get to a point where we're basically going to like retcon mean things or bad things in Star Wars to make them look good to today's audiences? Like that's where
I'm going. That's where I'm at too.
That's where the cynical side of me, or I guess critical side of me is are we going to start making bad things seem, oh no, they're just misunderstood? Like are we going to get that with Boba? Like don't get me wrong, Boba never was a pure villain. He was a bounty hunter. He's an anti-hero. But are we going to get to a point where it's like, oh, now Boba killing all these people and doing all that, that's fine. He's a good guy now.
Right.
Like, see, like that's my only concern when it comes to like the Tuscan Raiders, specifically the Tuscan Raiders, because they did like terrorize Luke and his family. They terrorized, obviously, Shmi. Like, I mean, they took her in the night. I mean, Klieg, I think his name was, said so himself.
He lost his leg.
Yeah, he lost his leg. So they're not angels. But the thing is, my concern with it is, are we going to get to a point where they're always portrayed now as angels? Because look, Din, when he talks to them, they're perfectly fine because he just talks to them and whatnot, and like that's my concern. Are we going to get to a point with these type of things where we're basically retconning what is perceived as bad because we're just adjusting it to be almost politically correct?
No, and you know what? That's a great point, but I think they went through long, great strides to make sure that these are completely different looking Tuscans than we've ever seen. Their clothing is all darker. Like one of them, I believe the female, if it is one, has like dreadlocks, like completely different color patterns. I think they did that specifically to be like, hey, these are the good Tuscan Raiders eventually. The other ones that are tan, for the most part, are the bad ones.
And here's what's funny about that. Like I could not stop thinking about this again. Another Mortal Kombat reference, but they all look like Cabal from Mortal Kombat 3.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking like, oh my! I mean, it looks awesome because I love Cabal, that character. But I was like, yep, another Mortal Kombat reference, Milton. Like, get it out your head. You're watching Star Wars.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that. We've pretty much gone scene by scene throughout the entire episode there.
Right.
I mean, for the most part, I mean, most of us have liked this episode a lot. I certainly have.
So I do want to get into a negative, though. Okay. I do want to get into one negative. And my brother Chris already knows where I'm going with this. We talked about it earlier. What is the main plot of this episode? Or the entire story? And I say this because even though we got the flashback of obviously what happened to him, how he escaped the Sarlacc pit, his encounter with the Tuscans, him being the lead gangster now, or trying to establish that in Tatooine currently, I still don't feel like we know where the story's going. Now, again, that's narrative, that's keeping stuff from us. I get that. I do kind of feel like this episode blinked so fast that I didn't know what was going on in the sense of like, what's the purpose? Maybe what's the purpose of the episode? Maybe that's my question.
Yeah, I think the purpose of the episode.
And this is where I think a second episode could have benefited from this. Does that make sense?
I agree. There isn't like one major thing where it's like, that's where we're going. But I think once the assassins got involved in the street, that's where I was like, okay, so this is where they're going to go. The mystery is, who are these people? Why are they getting attacked? Like, Boba Fett didn't have time to do anything about it because it's like immediately like, I have to go to the Bacta. And he says, take one alive. He says, take one alive because he needs more information out of them. And why are they attacking him? Like, what is their identity? And that's going to be one of the stripes he's going to have to deal with. Is as a leader, he's going to have to figure out, hey, there's going to be certain people that don't like your policies and stuff. Like, how are you going to deal with them? So I feel like that's the story at its whole is, him like trying to take up like a seat of power and trying to deal with it, and then having this thing pop up. And now that's like the more direct. But yeah, it could have been more direct. I agree.
Yeah, I think that's what my biggest not complaint, but just critique of it would be. I felt the purpose of the episode wasn't really established well. Again, we know what he wants to do as a leader, but it's like, okay, overall story. We know the mayor's probably gonna be that overall baddie most likely, with some gangster families coming in the picture. I just felt that it was kind of muddled, and that's probably my only criticism. Well, my other criticism as well. So it's like, it could have been more clear or concise. But again, that's where I think if we'd have gotten 2 episodes today, I think it would have been spelled out clear, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm curious what the chat thinks, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with a lot of the points. I mean, really, both of you made. I think the way they did it was, we'll see how. I mean, we'll have to see how the next 6 episodes play out. But I think this was intentionally the most flashback dominant episode, basically to be like checklist, like knock off a bunch of flashback stuff. So then I think the flashbacks are going to be scaled back, for the remaining 6 episodes. Like, I think, say if we get 35-minute episodes, I think the remaining flashbacks will be 5 to 10 minutes per episode versus like 70% of the episode. Like,
Right.
I think it'll be something along those lines. And then, to go with like Chris's point, I think the part of the story, that I guess, they were meaning is like, hey, who are these people attacking Boba, etc. But I think there could have been a different, I just think it all has to do with sequencing, how they
Right.
played out the whole fight scene in the street. Like, I think that's the biggest hang up with you on it, Milton, or even me. Like, I think how they cut up the fight scene, how they set up, because we, up to this point in the episode, we really didn't get a feel per se that people were resisting Boba being the ruler. So like, that was kind of just out of the blue, I guess. So I don't know. It just, I think it's going to be going in kind of that direction as well, like what Chris was saying. But again, it all comes down to how it plays out. Like, I mean, they could go in a totally different direction. We're not expecting, like, who knows, the mayor might get knocked off next week. So, I feel like the mayor's probably going to end up being just some no-name character. Like, I don't think he's going to be our overall bad, because I think he's basically your level 1 villain. Like, I think that's all he's going to end up being, actually.
He's basically going to be the client from season 1. Remember,
Yeah.
like, oh, he's the big bad, and then there's somebody higher than him.
Yep.
Yeah. No, and I think that's, and like I said, I have faith in Robert and John and Dave. Like, again, we have to, because they've shown a good track record. They love this character. So again, I'm giving them these guys the benefit of the doubt. I have to. I have no choice. I mean, if anyone else was watching this was like, oh no, we don't trust those three, you're crazy. Like, honestly, these are the guys we want telling Star Wars stories, especially telling a story for a character that we all love.
Yeah. I like Chad's explanation. He's saying he started out as the anti-hero. The first episode was shrouded in mystery, just like Boba Fett is shrouded in mystery of what is going to become of Boba. So I kind of like that, where it's like we're still playing around with that.
Yeah. No, but Chad makes a good point, though. I mean, again, this character still is very mysterious to us. We think we know who Boba Fett is because we've seen him in last season in Mandalorian, but in the regular Star Wars show, or excuse me, movies, we've only seen maybe 5 minutes of him total.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's a good point. We really don't know him anymore, or that well.
Yeah. So
we know more about Django than him.
Yeah.
Now, what about Tamar Morrison's performance? Did we all agree that he was pretty good?
Oh yeah, he was fine.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've all pretty much felt that way since he stepped back in Mando season 2. Like, I feel like he stepped in and didn't miss a beat on playing Django / playing a clone, basically. Like, I don't think he missed a beat at all playing it, playing the character. I thought he did really well. He does look like he got in better shape for the role, which, again, even if he didn't, who cares? Like,
right, I agree.
I guarantee you, the people, not to body shame anybody, but I guarantee you the people who are criticizing Tamara Morrison probably didn't look like fitness models either. So, like, I don't, we don't need to hear that type of talk.
And really, he could have been wearing padding for all we know.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for all we know, he could have been wearing padding. And I mean, come on now, the guy. I mean, the actual actor just turned 61. Happy belated birthday to Tamara Morrison. And he looks great for his age. Like, I think he did a really good job portraying the character. I do like how he's adding personality. Of course, obviously the writing, the lines right. are what adds the personality to the character or whatever. But I like that they're adding, he's really good at adding the personality to the character. Like, I do like that a lot with him. And I just think his interaction with Fennec is really good. And I think the way Temeru interacts with, like, the Mos Espa people when he's meeting with that Twi'lek chick and, just the other people, like, I feel like his interactions feel really genuine to, like, it feels like what I would imagine, like, Boba Fett would act like, if that makes sense. It feels genuine how he's acting. Like, it feels legit. Like, he's a ruler. Like, he's like, hey, let's just get the job done and keep it moving. Like, we don't need a bunch of excitement. Like, he portrays that really well.
So
we're not friends. That's what he's saying. We're not friends.
Yeah.
Like,
So do we think that, a Boba Fett show, like Tamara Morrison could anchor an entire series? Like, I know some people are like, we really need a Boba Fett series. Now, plot aside, I feel like the plot's going to turn out really, really great. How do you feel after the first episode? Like, yeah, this is a great entry in the Star Wars
yeah.
storytelling here. This is.
Yeah, it can carry its own because it's not 22 episodes. It's only
Mhm.
7.
Mm-hmm.
So a mini series like this is perfect for a character like this. And again, hopefully the next 6 episodes will be more clear and concise about where they're taking it. So I think it works perfectly. And now if you told me 2 years ago, oh, Book of Boba Fett's going to be 22 episodes, I'd be like, that's a stretch. Like, I don't see that working because I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough with that particular character to give us 22. I think you'd just be filling a lot of stuff in.
Okay.
This, straight to the point, like you said earlier, Ben, he's not about playing games. He's just getting the job done. So this show needs to be about he's getting the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I think he for sure can anchor a series, and I think we'll probably get 2 or 3 seasons of this show as well. And that also begs the question. I feel like a lot of people. I have seen a lot of people mention that before, like leading up to this. I didn't really dive into that type of talk today because I feel like a lot of people, it's been an overly pretty solid to positive reaction to the episode. But I did see people leading up to it saying, do we need a Boba Fett show? Do we need a Boba Fett show? But the thing is, did we need a Mandalorian show? No, not at all. We didn't know the character. We didn't know Grogu even existed. We didn't need that because we didn't know he existed.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a good point.
Like, my thing is, we only like, this is the kicker too. We only like the Mandalorian because of Boba Fett. Like, because Boba Fett's imagery in our heads, like, you can't tell me when you watched the first episode of Mando season 1 and you said, that's basically the Boba Fett show.
Yeah,
like, that's pretty much what everybody's saying. Mm-hmm. So, like, my thing is with that, like, we didn't need a Mando show. One show I think we definitely do not need is the Andor show at all. Like, I think, I mean, that's a whole topic for another day, but we don't need that show one bit.
We really don't.
So my thing is, I think for the current state of Star Wars, I think we need a Boba Fett show because they introduced his character in Mando season 2. Well, technically Mando season 1, but Mando season 2 as well. And they opened the doors to his character being more than just a ruthless bounty hunter. Like, just the way they showed he had honor. They showed he had honor and stuff. So I think we do need a Boba show now because we need to expand on it because, like, wait, why is he acting this way? Yeah. So, like, we need to expand on it.
Here's what's funny though. I'll go back further. This is why I know we need. I wouldn't say we need this show, but we actually have this show, or why it's actually justifiable. Wasn't his character introduced? When was he first introduced into Star Wars? What, the holiday special, or some animated show? The animated show. Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
And we all know that's trash. But who was the one person everyone liked in that holiday special? Boba Fett.
Yep.
So and again, he said not many words. In the original trilogy, he said maybe 2 sentences. And everyone was like, "Oh, we love that character. We want to know more about him." That justifies it right there. Old head fans who are in their 50s and 60s now love that character back in the original trilogy. Still love him now. So to me, that's justifiable. I'm 34, and I watched Star Wars for the first time when I was 10. Love that character. I want to know more about him. We got to see his pops in the sequel or prequels. Mm-hmm. We get to see him now. I love it. It's justifiable. It works.
Oh, I think so as well. And on top of it, like, Boba is basically the only character that really talked back to Darth Vader and survived. Like, so like that's a big thing too. Boba's character made such a mark on us as Star Wars fans, but just in general, if you watch the Under the Helmet series, like, it made a good mark on Hollywood,
right?
Because he talked back to Darth Vader. He captured Han Solo. He was in Jabba's palace, like, all this stuff, like, that went on.
For years, everybody debated, did he survive the Sarlacc pit?
Yep.
Like, for years. And then George finally said, "Oh yeah, he survived." Just casually though.
Exactly. Like that's the big thing when it comes to all of this. Like, his character made such an impact. Like, why wouldn't you? And at the end of the day, business wise, if you're Disney, why wouldn't you greenlight that? This is something everybody's
Right.
wanted for so long. Like, it's gonna get views. Like, they'll be fine.
Yep.
Bro, I have a Boba Fett T-shirt. Actually, it's funny. When I saw my brother down at his military college a couple years ago, I wore that shirt to his college. You know, like that. Like I love that character. Like I don't buy shirts just to buy them. Anything that I wear for like a whether it's Marvel, Disney, DC, whatever, it's because I like that particular character. And Boba Fett's well loved. I mean, the merchandise has to still be up there, whether it's Han Solo stuff, Luke Skywalker stuff, Vader. You know, obviously with the new stuff with Kylo Ren, I bet you Boba Fett still sells well when it comes to T-shirts and stuff. Guarantee it.
Oh yeah. Man, and I want to compare this to The Mandalorian real quick. Season 1, I feel like the reaction that fans are having now, you know, some people are really down with this series. Some people think it's just good, you know. With the first episode, I feel like this is how the reaction would be if Grogu wasn't in the ending scene for The Mandalorian.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is the Mandalorian series almost without Grogu in it. It's kind of the way I'm thinking about it a little bit. I know it's got a lot more like Godfather vibes and stuff like that. But overall, like this is what the fans have been like kind of dreaming in her head, like a badass Boba Fett. How does he survive? He's got charisma. You got the helmet off of him. You're seeing him interact with the everyday man and different people. And it's a really cool, down-to-earth dude that, like, I could get along with, I think. And it's just like, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head, actually, Chris, about if Grogu wasn't in the first episode of Mando, I think that it would be a very similar, if not more negative reaction, because we didn't know Din Djarin at all. Right. So, you know, I think that's a big thing. You know, or flip the storyline. What if this was Din, and the first episode of Mando was Boba with Grogu? The internet would have just melted down, I think. Like, you know, having such a ruthless bounty hunter with a little baby Yoda. So, like, you know, you can look at it from different angles like that. And it's just interesting because, you know, I wonder, I've really been thinking, like, what other Boba Fett things are they going to introduce that fans have wanted over the years, you know, that we're going to actually get to see? Like, you know, Mando season 2, we see him basically go through the whole, you know, basically the whole, like, checklist of the armor, I guess. Like, hey, this is what this does. This is what this does. This is what this does, you know, in the action sequence with the stormtroopers. Like, I wonder what more we're going to get with Boba and see him interacting. And I think we are going to actually be heading in a direction potentially of a Legends storyline. And I feel like it could be potentially part of Chris's theory, possibly, that we're going to get into at the end of this episode. But I think they're going to connect in some of the Legends stuff. Of course, they'll connect in the canon stuff. But it's going to really flesh out this story, I think, over a multiple season span. Like 2 to 3 seasons at least.
All right, and there was a quote before we're gonna get into that theory. Finally, I know it's not gonna be that mind blowing. Believe me, you guys probably are already thinking about what it is, but I think there was something that came out like a week ago or something. Robert Rodriguez was like asked if there's gonna be another season of this. He didn't deny it. He said, "Oh, we're gonna go by fan feedback, and you'll have a good idea of like if we're gonna get another season by the end of this one or something like that."
So that means yes, basically.
Yeah, facts. Like,
I hope so.
Robert, stop playing.
So here we go. Here's a theory. It's not going to be earth shattering or anything. You guys probably already figured it out on your own. Some of you, but I think there's going to be a big thing where Boba is like having to deal with some kind of like sickness from being that clone, and he's dealing with sickness that is actually, you know, that's why he's in that bathtub, and he's saying, I have dreams, and there's being a clone, there's these after effects of being alive this long. You have these different visions that are coming back to him. And the thing that Chad mentioned with the green stuff in his vision, that is also like what he's seeing through his eyes. Like, oh crap, he's like getting this green issue thing going on with his vision, and like he was a little weak in that battle because like immediately after he's like, I have to go get the back because like something was happening to him in that battle. He couldn't focus 100%. So what's going to happen, and I'm going to just kind of like speculate the entire season. I'm going to speculate responsibly, as the people of Force Center say. But I think what could ultimately happen is like, they're going to get to the point, and if it is multiple seasons, maybe it doesn't happen in the season, but they're going to have to go. We know Kamino is destroyed in Bad Batch. We know that's destroyed, but they're gonna have to go to the other place that was left off at the end of the at the end of Bad Batch, which is Wayland, which is a thing from Star Wars Legends where Thrawn got these clones and stuff from, or the Emperor had like his observatory or conservatory thing. He has all these clones technology. We know that's where the one lady's gonna go for the clones from Bad Batch. What if by the end of this season, Fennec and Boba go to that place to get this antidote thing for him, and that's where they find Thrawn or something doing something over there with all that technology. So
Right.
that's like, but I think that's gonna be the crux of this story is like him like getting rid of this sickness or trying to pause it or something, because it just seems really conspicuous when they say I have to go back to the back to and the dreams are coming back. Like what dreams? When did they first start happening? Like why? Like there's so many questions that seem like that is going to be, Milton said, what's the crux of the story? I don't think that part of it is revealed yet, but once it does, maybe in the next episode, maybe that's what it will be.
So I think we speculated on this like a couple episodes ago. This comes from the Legends books,
Oh,
from the New Jedi Order, because again, now Boba has a daughter in those books. Remember, Ben?
Yep.
Because I guess his body was breaking down from being like the original clone or something, or like he wasn't like using the growth hormones or something where like his body was breaking down and he was using clone parts to like fix himself,
oh,
and like it was catching up to him. So if they take that route, I'd be thinking, thank God, because you're finally pulling stuff from canon that actually was good. Like that was a through line through those books where you're like, okay, what's going to happen? And for those who don't know, obviously, I think he winds up passing in those books, but his daughter winds up taking over. Like, does she become a bounty hunter or something to that extent? I can't remember, but the daughter plays a role with all that. And maybe in this case, it could be what's the other clone that's in Bad Batch?
Oh, Omega.
Omega. Maybe Omega comes into the fold. You know, so it's like they can just twist it, but you're taking good stuff from Legends that we all loved. And again, Kathleen, the material's there. So don't tell me we don't got the material from Legends to make this work.
So, yeah, I 100% agree with, both of you, really. But man, Milton, I was thinking, like when Boba was saying Bacta, I literally said to my friend, I was like, man, I bet as soon as Milton's watching this, he's thinking of those books. Like
I did, but I was like, let me just wait, because I was like, eh.
Yep. See, like that's what I was thinking too, was because basically, the storyline is like he's dying, he's searching for other, trying to find one last clone trooper to like meet up with to try to get his DNA. And see, what I'm thinking is potentially, we obviously have the whole Wayland potential storyline, Chris, or potentially, meeting up with Omega, like you'd mentioned, Milton. I think the direction they're going to go, though, is we already have the seeds laid. We already have a Camino. We already have a Camino in Dr. Pershing, and I think we're going to go in a direction where Boba potentially, like the cloning process is breaking down, or I guess accelerating, or like the aging process is accelerating or something. And maybe we're going to get to where, I was talking about this with my friend, like, how is this going to connect to the greater wide-scoping Star Wars Mandoverse? And I think there's a potential Boba, is going to hear about this Dr. Pershing guy, and then we're going to end up going on a hunting, after he settles all this Tatooine. I think the Tatooine stuff is predominantly like 80-90% of this story for this first season. And then by the end of it, maybe we're going to get something Boba saying, where's Dr. Pershing or whatever, or something along those lines. And I think we'll be heading in that direction to go find Dr. Pershing. And maybe, Dr. Pershing will be at Wayland, and that's where we'll get the connections to Wayland, Dr. Pershing, the Kaminoans, and how Boba is going to tie into the greater Mandoverse.
I'm about to say, and this can tie into also Moff Gideon, because wasn't there a point in the last season where they were at some like station and it was very mysterious about like some cloning stuff?
Yeah.
Like, because that never was paid off yet.
Yep.
So
there was
again,
like Snoke looking things in there.
Yeah, so it could be paid off in maybe some type of crossover episode. I don't know, but again, there's a lot of good things with this. And again, I am trusting the team of the Mandoverse to get this done. I
So
just know there's no way they screw this up. There's no way.
so there's really two plot points here. You got that one that's the personal story of Boba Fett, like his life being right. But then the other thing is going to be Qi'ra and Crimson Dawn. I'm still calling it. It didn't happen the first episode. I think I was calling it for the first episode. But that's going to be the other thing, is then you have Crimson Dawn on his back the whole time as well.
And Chris, you're not honestly, Amelia Clark, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is she the actress that played it? Like she can come back for that role and they don't have to tell us that. They can just maybe that's the Luke Skywalker of this particular show coming up. Again, I don't know anything. We don't know anything. Maybe that's where we'll get that. Because I mean, I know there's been rumors about a Han Solo show or something coming or whatever. Again, I don't know if we need that, but Qi'ra showing up. I mean, come on now, like that. That's and it's not like she's old, you know, in this timeline of Star Wars.
Yeah, no, she would be like Han's age, which would be like in his 40s.
That's
or
what
something.
I'm saying. Like she could be 40 years old.
And she is already 40 years old anyway, probably in real life, or she's probably in her late 30s or something.
Mid to late 30s, I think.
Yeah, I think Amelia Clark is only. I think she's only like 34 or 33.
Oh,
I think she's like. Damn. I think she's only mid to early 30s.
Close enough, whatever.
But anyways,
Tatooine will make you old, so it's all good.
Yeah, true. So we saw that with Owen and Brew. I think it's going to end up leading to that, to Qi'ra and the Crimson Dawn. Like I think it's inevitable. It'll be the ultimate fan service as well, but it'll be appropriate, you know, for the comics, for the current state of canon and things like that. You know, we've gone over the Crimson Dawn stuff plenty of times, almost weekly, I feel like, for the past however many months now. So I think we're heading that direction for sure. But also, you know, I just thought about it as well. I think here's our thing, Milton, maybe for Boba's fighting. Maybe them adding in the plot device of him slowly dying or getting sick is the plot device as to why he's not just whipping everybody like he did in Mando. You know what I mean? It's kind of like well, you know, between Mando and now, you got a broken ankle and it's going to linger for the next 7 weeks. Like, you know, it'll be that type of deal. I think there's potential. Like if we don't see that's another big thing too. Not like trying to like set negative expectations, right. But if we don't get payoff for the back to tank thing and Boba continues to get whipped on, that'll be a bad plot device. Just to say basically like, hey, we're just hampering our main character so he's not just taking everybody out.
That's my fear. Like, do not depower him.
Yep, because we've already seen other iconic characters be depowered pretty much. So like, I think we're going to be heading in that direction. And the good thing is with the back to tank storyline, I think we're going to get to a point where maybe, you know, when we wrap the flashbacks up, that'll be like wrapping up Boba being healthy again. You know what I mean? Like I think he'll be in back to tanks like consistently throughout the show. And then whenever he gets like this thing solved or like there's a hopeful moment, like he won't have to be in the back to tank. You know what I mean? Like it'll be him like moving on from it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I think that's going to factor in heavily. So what's going on in the future there for him? All right, let's go ahead and let's just wrap it up by let's give it a score out of 10. I'll start this one off with Milton. Just final thoughts and score out of 10.
Right. Again, overall, I thought this was a decent episode. It wasn't bad, so I just want to get that out of the way. It wasn't bad. I do feel that if we got a second episode to follow right away, it would have made the premiere episode stronger. There was a lot of good set pieces, visuals, the music. I love the Tuscan Raiders. Hated the Jawas like always. You know, they're trash characters. Obviously loved Tamara Morrison's betrayal. I thought the plot was a little unclear, but again, maybe that's on purpose. So I'm giving these guys the benefit of the doubt. If I had to rank this out of 10, I ain't gonna lie. Earlier I said it would have been probably a 6, but after talking about it and reassessing, I think a good 7.75 out of 10.
Oh. So there you go. That's the
rating.
beauty of talking and having a conversation with friends is that, hey, sometimes our scores can go up or down as we help each other understand or at least focus on what we like and what we don't like about the episode. I'm going to throw it over to Ben.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me that at 3 a.m, I probably would have had a similar feel. Like it was solid, it was fine, whatever. But then I watched it again. I liked it more, for what it was, and also just talking it out like here with you guys and with the chat. Like that's always a lot of fun. And this is like Star Wars counseling. We're breaking down like our thoughts and feelings on these things. So my thing is, I think the episode was overall really good as a whole. Like we had a lot of good moments. I thought some of the shooting was weird. The way the camera angles, like I said, I felt like we were really right up on characters, like a lot, like really close up. And I just felt like it wasn't, or the shots were super, super tight sometimes. And I'm like, man, is this because of a budget potentially? Because, it was potentially filmed during the pandemic last year. So that's probably why, I would assume. But then again, it's the whole thing of like, hey, you're Star Wars. Like you could probably shell out some more cash. So it's like, that was kind of my like nitpick toward it. It felt a little tight on the shots. But overall, like I thought it was pretty good. Like I like seeing, him getting out of the Sarlacc was really cool. His interactions with the Tuscan Raiders, I think, was really neat. And I like that we saw him basically get humbled as such a ruthless character, getting humbled like that by the Tuscans. That was cool. I also do like the fact that, even though he was weak, like I said earlier, he stopped that kid from hitting him with his staff, like with just one hand. Like, it still showed he still was Boba Fett. So that was great. And I think the show just really hooked me I would say just overall, because, we have the potential back to storyline, whatever that has to do with Boba's well-being, but also the potential of a bigger threat, a bigger gang-related, mob-related threat, almost like The Godfather with the different families. And I think the main enemy family is going to end up being the Crimson Dawn, and I think that's where we're heading. And I think overall, this episode, if I had to rate it, it's almost like a basically first quarter of school. It's your first. It's like your warm up assignment, basically. I give it like a B-. I give it like an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 from Ben and a 7.75 from Milton. I'm going to go over to I'm going to kind of echo a lot of your thoughts, Ben and Milton, actually. So I really kind of repeat what I said in the beginning of initial impressions. I really liked the portrayal, like Milton said, of Boba Fett by Tamora Morrison, and seeing the legacy of this character, seeing how he carries himself, being benevolent as a leader, trying to do things differently. And he's gonna learn some hard lessons about what happens when he goes against the grain, when he's not in the element that the normal people of Tatooine have been dealing with Jabba for hundreds of years at this point. So I think I like that a lot. The set design was incredible. I did like those action sequences. Yeah, did they feel a little stiff at certain points? Yeah, maybe that was purposely done. So it's hard to say if that's just a casualty of the show being made or something further along the lines, but especially that stuff with the rooftop scene, I love that. That was a really kinetic, really fun Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed type of scene. Learning a lot more about Tatooine, learning about like the ecosystem itself, the different creatures that we haven't seen before, having a creature that was unique and was something new, kind of like what we've seen to Create Dragon from the premiere episode of Mando Season 2. I feel like we got that same vibe. So I love how they're reinventing Star Wars by having these different things and reinventing the villains that we've always hated, like the Tuscan Raiders. And maybe, they were treating him like crap, but, treating him also as an equal by the end of the episode. I like the way that they are initiating the flashbacks. We haven't really gotten a lot of flashbacks in Star Wars, but I like the way that they are telling the flashbacks with the Bacta, seeing that, this is sort of a mysterious plot, which I'll take a couple points off of just because it's like, okay, there's not a direct like thread of like, what are we doing here? I mean, I can make, connect the lines together in my head, and I believe that's what it's going to be, but yeah, maybe something a little bit clearer cut. And even though, we're used to like the first episode of every season having this huge moment, somebody mentioned earlier, Boba Fett showing up in season 2, and then Of course, Grogu showing up in season one. We didn't really have anything big like that, but I think this episode solidifies the fact that we don't really need anything like that, at least for me to enjoy the episode. Getting a really deep dive on a character that we've known about for, 43, 44 years at this point, learning a lot new about him, and just appreciating how they did the character justice. I feel like so far they haven't done any wrong to Boba Fett, but they've actually enhanced the character. I've actually care more about this guy now. Seeing more of the face, I gotta give this an 8 out of 10. I'll echo Ben. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Sure, there's room for an improvement, but we all unanimously like this episode. No, there can be better things done in the future, but leaving room for higher scores as we get further in this thing.
And honestly, that's what I'm hoping. I think, and maybe they're doing this on purpose. They just want to hey, let's lower the expectations, the initial premiere. As the show progresses, I think we're going to get a lot more surprises, and they're really going to show us the meat of what the show's all about.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, look at
also.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say also, just to throw out there, did we? Of course, we all were hyped. We wanted a cameo, etc. But do we really need a cameo? Because Boba Fett's the main character here.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah,
that's the thing too. We have to remember as well. Boba is the main character. He is a bigger, more iconic character than any of the characters in the Mandalorian show, other than Luke. So, it's a hard line because I think there will be other episodes throughout this season where we don't get big cameos or anything. It could be just a random gangster or something. But I think we will end up getting the big pop cameos like Qi'ra, potentially Han, or other characters, of course. And I think we'll get low-level characters as well, like Bosk and those type of things as well. And it just matters, how they execute it.
Yeah. So we're actually gonna wrap this up with something fun. We got a poll from our friend Chad Ghost in a chat. So he's saying, guys, please take a poll. Would each of you rather be a Jawa, a Tuscan Raider, or a Bomar monk? I need to know. So I'll start this one off. I'm gonna be a Bomar monk because I know it's Chad's favorite creature in Star Wars, so he'd be pissed off at me if I didn't say that. But the Bomar monk is a cool idea because I believe they kind of live forever, but their brain is encased in a cybernetic spider chassis body. So, right. It's kind of cool because you would never fade away, although you would lose all sense of your corporeal self. You would have, or the physical self, you would be able to, live for a long time. I really do hope we see more of these things. I know we see it in the trailer. I hope it's not just a trailer shot. I hope there is a little discussion conversation at some point of hey, what is that spider thing? Oh, they're a Bomar monk. They had their brains removed and then they lived eternal or something through the force or something like that. That'd be really fun. I'm gonna throw this one over to Ben.
That's a tough one. I probably wouldn't be that spider thing because I always thought they looked kind of weird. So I would have to say, yeah, that's a tough one between. I guess if I'm a Tuscan, as long as I'm in one of the good villages, so I'm not an evil Tuscan and get taken out by a Jedi or something. But then I would probably have to say a Jawa, just because you're scouring the desert. You have a house. You basically have an RV you're living in. So you never have to worry about a place you're living in. And I don't know. I'd probably be a Jawa.
All right.
That one shocks me. I'm shocked you went Jawa, but I'm a Tuscan Raider without question. First of all, again, again, Mortal Kombat. I love Cabal's character, and they look just like him. I love the mask, and honestly, that'd be kind of a dope mask to get for Halloween next year. Would be a Tuscan Raider mask. I just love, again, the whole aspect of being a culture like that, and I'm curious to see what they're going to show us with that culture. They just look badass, and they are supposed to be badass creatures. So yeah, Tuscan Raider every day.
All right, somebody out there is gonna have to make fan art of me as a Bomar monk, Milton as a Tuscan Raider, and Ben as a Jawa.
Let's go. Yeah. Jawas, I ain't messing with Jawas. They're just they're over. They're just too much. It's just always in the way, man.
Well, hey, and then if I'm a Jawa over here, I can invite you guys over to have one of those Zuga eggs or whatever.
Right.
That was from that creature in
I mean, like,
Mando.
I'll give Jawas credit. Like they're super. Listen, they are resourceful. They definitely know how to barter and trade, and they're good at that. However, they always in the way.
I mean,
Always.
they whip on Mando. I mean, like
You
they
ain't
zap
lying.
him and
Yeah, just wrecking them.
That's
uh,
God.
right. That's right. Well, what a fun discussion to have for the end of this premiere episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Thanks to everybody that joined us in the chat. Thanks for the question poll there, Chad. We also had Christopher Weber in there. We also had Aaron Daly. A lot of comments coming from her. We also had, I believe, Alex was in here at some point. He still could be, or somebody. Yeah, Alex Elkins. So yes, thanks for everybody joining in the chat. As always, we will be live every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So don't look for our review on Wednesday next week because we're going to go back to our normal time. This is just a temporary thing we were doing this week for recognizing New Year's Eve and all that sort of thing. But also because we're just excited to talk about a brand new Star Wars show the day it comes out. Who knows? Maybe we'll do that like again or something. If it, the first episode every Wednesday. I'm not putting anything in stone. Who knows? But so everybody can also follow us on YouTube or subscribe to youtube.com/Starrapter if you're listening to the podcast. If you are already watching this podcast, you can go ahead and listen to it on any podcast platform. We also have the Outer Rim Transmission store over on teespring.com. You can buy yourself a t-shirt, help support the channel. And as far as my YouTube channel this week, it's the end of the year. I've been doing a lot of video game videos. I have my most played video game revealed there, as well as my game of the year. So check out that content, kind of diversifying, trying little gaming videos here and there. So check that out and do subscribe. I'll leave it to you guys. Do you have anything that you will be talking about this week over on Twitter?
Honestly, my Eagles are making a playoff push. I don't know about Ben's Browns because they've been dookie the last couple weeks. Sorry about that, Ben. Just saying. Hopefully my Eagles get a win against Washington and we can get a win next week against Dallas. So I'll probably talk crap on Twitter about that. But other than that, guys, we appreciate you guys talking with us tonight. The chat, you guys have been awesome. Again, share Chris's YouTube page with your friends, especially Friday nights. Like, we love interacting with the fans when they watch us, so we really do appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate y'all.
Well said. Well
I mean,
said.
I can echo all of that. What you said, Milton. Yeah, the Browns aren't going to make the playoffs most likely, so it is what it is. But they deserve it after the way they played this year. For me, I'm actually going to be off the show next week because we're going to Hawaii this weekend and we're going to be there for an entire week. And we're going to be there for my sister's wedding, so that'll be a lot of fun. So we're flying out Saturday morning, so if you guys want to see me tweeting about heading out to Hawaii, you can find me at Real Ben Maynard, and I'll be on Twitter here and there throughout the week, of course. And of course, next week when the new episode comes out, I'll be sure to be tweeting about it because, hey, this will be the only time I'll be able to watch a Book of Boba episode on a Tuesday night because, since it comes out at 3 a.m. East Coast time, it's going to come out about 10 p.m. Tuesday night Hawaii time. So
that's you'll get it first.
Well, I'll get it the same time as you guys.
Okay.
It'll still be 3 a.m. here, but it'll just be 10 p.m. So I won't have to stay up until 3 a.m. so yeah, it'll be fun. I'll be messaging you guys going woo. So we'll see. I don't know. It'll be a lot of fun, and yeah, I'll still be tweeting about Star Wars even in another state.
There you go. So you can follow Ben at Real Ben Maynard on Twitter, as well as Milton at Milton Weber 7 on Twitter. You can follow me, of course, at Starrapter on Twitter. Thanks again for everybody for tuning in, for listening later. Like Milton said, go ahead, share this to your friends. We want to have that participation every Friday night as much as we can. We have a great time doing it. So until next time, this was Outer Rim Transmission number 39, end transmission. There we go.